Members, it is about time we have attained the quorum. This is the first House Committee meeting of 2014. Let me wish you every success and good working life. Confirmation of minutes of the 10th meeting held on December the 13th, 2013. The minutes have been made available. I have received no proposed amendments. Can I take the minutes as confirmed? Matters arising. A report with the CS and nothing in particular to report. Business arising from previous council meetings. Legal Service Division report on subsidiary legislation, gazetted on December 13th and tabled on December 18th. Legal advisor. Chairman, there are two papers there. The first one is paper LS20. This deals with the subsidiary legislation gazetted on December the 13th. The first one is LN 199 and 200 under the Plant Importation and Pest Control Quarantine Area Order. Due to the construction work of the Sha-Tin to Central Link, the director of AFCD has to terminate the quarantine area and designate the toll shack path Sha-Tin as the new quarantine area to go into effect on the 14th of this month of February. The next one is Education Ordinance Amendment of Schedule 3 Notice 2013. Wukong English School has become DSS school, and it is proposed that this school be removed so that the requirement under the Incorporated Management Committee will not apply. The commencement date is February the 14th. If I may move on to LS21, Chairman, also. This deals with the notice under the Antiquities and Monuments Declaration, Antiquities and Monuments Ordinance. This is to declare to be historical buildings of Fat Tat Tong and Tak Community Hall at Ping Shan. This will go into effect on the in February. All right. The first one is the declaration of quarantine area, a repeal order, and the designation of a new area. Do you see the need for a subcommittee? If not, the Education Ordinance Amendment of Schedule 3 Notice 2013 Subcommittee. All right. Antiquities and Monuments Declaration of Historical Buildings Number 2 Notice 2013. Dr. Kwokaki proposes a subcommittee. Who would like to join? Dr. Candice Chen. There will be a further circulation of invitations. Just a reminder that for amendments, the deadline is January the 15th. And for the Antiquities and Monuments, with the subcommittee formed, this can be extended to the 26th of February. Right, Legal Service Division, a business for council meeting on January the 8th. Report number 8, stroke 13 to 14 of the House Committee on Consideration of Subsidiary Legislation. The Fugitives Offenders Czech Republic Order. Mr. James Toh has indicated his intention to speak. I will be moving a motion to take note of the report. We have 22 questions, 6 oral and 16 written, scheduled for the meeting. Bill's first reading, Inland Revenue Amendment Number 3, Bill 2013. We will deal with this at the House Committee meeting on the 10th of January. There is no government motion. Members' motions. Proposed resolution under Article 75 of the Basic Law of the Hong Kong SAR to be moved by Mr. Yip Kwok Him. At the House Committee meeting on December 13th, members noted that Honourable Ip Kwok Him, Chairman of the Committee on Members' Interests, would move a proposed resolution to amend Rule 83.5 of the Rules of Procedure to tie in with the commencement of the new Companies Ordinance on March the 3rd. Proposed resolution under Section 17.2 of the Electoral Commission Ordinance, Cap 443, to be moved by me to enable us to use social media websites to disseminate information of the Council. I'm Samuel Lau, Chairman. I just hope that members would have a clear look at this. At the party caucus meeting, we also discussed this, and we would like to raise some questions. Now, we have read the Secretariat's paper. There is a mention of the legal risks. So we have the SGN, the legal advisor, with us. We may not have a debate next week, and we may not be able to handle all these issues, even if we put it back a couple of weeks, or maybe we can. There is a mention of the legal risks. If legal action were to be taken, will individual members be taken to court, or will the Electoral Commission be taken to court? I look forward to some comments from the legal advisor. If all these risks are there and we cannot deal with them, however long we wait, then we can get this through on the 8th of January. And when things go wrong, we should be aware of what's going to happen. Of course, the Electoral Commission will be held responsible. Now, a lot of members are not part of the Electoral Commission. Maybe they haven't gone into sufficient detail about this paper. Now, we're going to be speaking for 15 minutes. So first of all, can I invite the legal advisor or the SG to brief us on the legal risks and all the associated problems? Legal advisor. Chairman. Now, on this proposal to use social media websites to disseminate information of the Council, the Electoral Commission we did offer some legal advice to the Electoral Commission. Now, the report was submitted to the Council in the name of the Chairman of the Electoral Commission, AS 59, 13 to 14. That's the paper I'm referring to. The Chairman, this is a rather complicated issue. I don't really want to take up too much of members' time. I would just like to invite members to pay attention to paragraph 12 of the paper regarding the 4 specific areas under our observation, and Appendix 2 of the report regarding the situations that we anticipate. We have offered some comments there. At the end of the day, the Electoral Commission must have weighed up the pros and cons in using social media websites to disseminate Council information. And also the risks that might be incurred regarding litigation. And after weighing up the pros and cons, the proposals have been made, and the Chairman has already alluded to this particular resolution. Now, the wording is detailed in Appendix 1 of the paper. Like some members said a few moments ago, the Electoral Commission would like members to have regard to the details of the paper and also the wording of the resolution, so that when debate is held, members can decide whether to support the proposal. Legal advisor. Now, regarding the possibility of legal or litigation, any further comments? Chairman, in the UK, according to our information, in 2009, they did conduct a review regarding the copyright, and I mentioned the Electoral Commission's report to the Council in Appendix 2, or in paragraph 15. The reporter was quoted, and any members who are interested can also get access to the full details of the report. Simply put, as far as we know, the UK Parliament, the House of Lords and House of Commons, considered the issue, and it is a matter of policy. There may be legal risks regarding the protection under the powers and privileges, and also the potential infringement of copyright, and also the dissemination of the information may be detrimental to the image and reputation of individual members, but it was considered that in order to disseminate the information about the Council, to enable the members of the public to have more information, they've decided to have this approach. I'm sure that anyone logging on to the UK Parliament web, or Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, they would be able to get access to the proceedings of their council meetings, and through the hyperlinks, they would also be able to get to Twitter, YouTube, and other social media websites to get the information. Of course, when it comes to the social media websites, there is a major difference from the electoral website, in the sense that in these public websites, the management will be outside the control of the electoral, and the providers of these media websites will be different to electoral. Dr. Martin Lau, 2 minutes, please. Chairman, I go along with Ms. Emily Lau. I think we're doing it in too hasty a manner. We do have a website which contains all the records and all the information. Why do I have to extend the dissemination of information to the social media websites? Second, as we all know, all our speeches, now some of our speeches are rather aggressive, and they are protected under the Powers and Privileges Ordinance. Now, my question is, will the protection under the PNP be extended to the social media websites in terms of the PNP protection? Third, regarding the transfer of the information, what is the protection under the law?
Yes, the Secretary General. Thank you. I would like to answer the first question, Chairman. It's true that in the electoral website, we have full video records of electrical meetings, and we've also got photos of meetings and photos of members' activities uploaded onto our website. But then the younger generation do not access information in the way that we are used to. And so if our information can be made available on the so-called sharing platforms, then the coverage will be greatly increased. In fact, this feeling is shared by other legislatures around the world, and that is we should proactively disseminate information about the work of the legislature to the public through these social media websites. As the legal advisor has pointed out, we did make reference to the UK experience, and in fact the Parliament also studied the legal risks in detail. And as we've frankly stated in the paper, there are legal risks. But then the UK Parliament has come to the conclusion that it's really a matter of striking the right balance. Do we want more people to have access to the information, or is it that we are deterred from doing so because of the legal risks? In fact, since 2009, the UK Parliament has been uploading recordings of their meetings to social media websites, and they've said that the effect has been very good, and more people have become aware of the activities and the discussions in the legislature. In fact, many of our members do have accounts in these sharing websites. And so if the Secretariat can help members do this work, then we are of the view that this is something that's worth exploring and pursuing. And that's why we've already given members our views and our analysis in the paper, and members can decide whether they want to adopt this suggestion. Legal advisor, do you wish to supplement? Concerning the powers and privileges enjoyed by members under the Basic Law and under Sections 3 and 4 of the Electrical PNP Ordinance, now, if the remarks are transmitted to social media websites and forum outside electrical meetings. Now, I want to say that in fact we don't have any case in a previous case in Hong Kong. And then in 1994, 2005, 2011, there were Privy Council cases on certain New Zealand cases. So, but still we are unable to really give very concrete advice to members. In fact, para 18 of the Electrical Commission paper states that the courts will have to form their views on whether the remarks should still be covered by the Electrical Powers and Privileges Ordinance. And in fact, the Privy Council, in fact, has not really gone into depth the legal position, and so I am afraid I'm not in a position to give members clearer advice. So members who are interested can refer to para 18 of the paper and also the appendix. And concerning third-party risk, that's dealt with in para 17. The Electoral Commission can only remind users of social media websites that when they use YouTube or transmit photos, they have to bear in mind possible risks, for example, third-party liabilities and possible copyright infringement. And these users are advised to seek legal advice if they are in doubt. Mr. Ronnie Tom, now these social media websites are not managed by electoral members individually, and so there shouldn't be a risk on the part of individual electoral members. Now concerning our information, the information about the legislature, I don't think there should be legal risk because this is not about dissemination of personal opinions. And if the remarks are covered by the Electoral and Powers and Privileges Ordinance, then I don't think reproduction, and I think reproduction should also be covered. But of course, if there is anything added to it, then there may be legal liabilities. Now, in fact, many colleagues through their personal websites or through social media websites disseminate their remarks in LegCo. So if there are risks, the risks already exist. I don't think this proposal will substantially increase the risk. I don't think members need to be too worried. Mr. Kenneth Lau. Now, of course, the risks do exist. But then, say, I and Charles Mok do have Facebook, Twitter, YouTube accounts. We, in fact, are shouldering our own risks. The legal advisor has talked about some Privy Council cases, but I think there is one fundamental issue which remains unresolved. Now, what if remarks in this or speeches in this council are reproduced or quoted in the or in TV programs? Now, is it that the protection by the electoral PNP ordinance is secure? So, legal advisor, apart from looking at the Privy Council cases, can you look at the practice in other common law jurisdictions? Perhaps you can look at Canada, perhaps you can look at the US to see whether we can make reference to the cases. And then if the answer is no, can the Electoral Commission hire a senior counsel or a QC to give authoritative advice? Now, of course, if if it's the Electoral Commission disseminated information, then of course that's the risks will be borne collectively by the Electoral Commission. Legal advisor, we did some research during the limited time available, and we did study the Privy Council's decision on some New Zealand cases. Now, the U.S. situation is quite different from ours because they've got the First Amendment and the Fifth Amendment. And then Canada, I haven't seen very clear court cases. But then if members reproduce their comments in this council on other websites, that may not amount to conditional privilege in reporting on LegCo business under the defamation ordinance. So as the members pointed out, the risks are borne by members themselves. And if the Electoral Commission decides to adopt this proposal, now the Electoral Commission doesn't have any responsibility with regard to the direct management of these websites. But then as to whether members need to shoulder several and joint liability with the Electoral Commission, that may not really directly apply here. I understand that members may have still have some concerns, but I think I can only give replies of a general nature to members today. Mr. Lam Kwa Hong, Chairman. Now, I seldom support the Electoral Commission's decision, but on this occasion, I support the Electoral Commission's decision. I think in order to be accountable to the public, we must let the public see and know what we are doing. And of course, there are risks. That's why we have the courts. That's why we have lawyers. I think Electoral should be willing to bear the risk. If there hasn't been such a court case, then let's create one. All right. Now, in this council, when we say something, we are covered by the Electoral Powers and Privileges Ordinance. Then what if these remarks are reported outside this council? I think Mr. Ronnie Tong is right. I think reporting on something in a truthful manner cannot be wrong. But of course, if you add certain things, then that's a different story. Now, if I say here or outside this conference room that I want to overthrow the Chinese Communist regime, then only I will be held liable. Those who report on what I've said should not be held liable. Now, I think this based on the Johannesburg principles. Let's give it a try. Let's show our sincerity. Let's let the public know that we are willing to be accountable to them, that we are willing to show them what we are doing. Now, people can go to court if they want to. Now, I went to court against Jasper Zhang's decision to cut the filibustering, and the court may go right up to the CFA level. So I think there is no harm in telling the public, showing the public what we are doing. Mr. Paul Chair. We haven't got any court case concerning reports on what is said in this council. Now, but then under the defamation ordinance, if A says something and B reports or quotes what A has said, or C reports what A has said in the media, I think there are risk is involved. Now, according to my limited legal knowledge and my research in defamation cases, I think there is no protection, and so I think there are considerable risks involved. And then on the social media websites, who will be reproducing such remarks? Now, of course, it's for members to decide. Then members can choose what to upload onto the social media websites. But then if this is to be done by the Electoral Secretariat, then is it that the all the remarks made by all 70 members will be uploaded? And so I want the Secretariat to answer this question. So will you upload all that has been said by all members onto the social media websites? May I refer to para 9 of the paper? This paragraph is on the implementation details. Now we will upload the full records of meetings. Now for YouTube, yes, there are these technical constraints. That's true. But we will upload the full video recording. And then as for photos, we upload all the photos that we have. So that's the situation. Mr. James Toh. Yes, Chairman. If members want to have some more time to think about this matter more carefully, I don't think we need to really rush through this exercise.
I don't agree with Mr. Ronnie Tong that the electoral commission will be uploading the information, and we will be protected under the Powers and Privileges Ordinance. Now, we may shoulder certain risks, and we have to balance it against the access to information by the public. And I think we have to consider whether we will be financially able to shoulder the risks. Now, if at the end of the day the CFA were to rule that we will not have the PNP protection, then we may members may not get paid because of the huge financial burden. But I think that the risks are well worth bearing. However, if members would like to have further look at this, then I have no problem for the sake of security. It doesn't matter if the public were to get the information 3 or a couple of months later. There are 3 more members who are speaking for the second time. There's one more there, Mr. Charles Mock. All right, I go first. You're doing for the first time. Chairman, thank you. Some members that we don't have to rush. The Secretariat has already done all the necessary work, and basically what we are uploading on the web will be the unedited videos and all the photos. They have selected all the good ones, I'm sure. And members are concerned about the legal liability, and this is understandable. But I think we do have a more important responsibility to let the public know what we have said and what we have done. And that would enable them to analyze the situation better. We're here to serve the members of the public. If we are too guarded in what we do, then nothing will get done. In this day and age, if we are so concerned about the social media websites, we are concerned about the legal liability. We haven't seen any cases in the West. The risks may not be as huge, and I don't think it would be as bad as what was depicted by Mr. James Toh, that we will be sued and incur huge financial losses. Mr. Martinell. Chairman, the PNP protection is to enable members to speak their minds without any concerns about the legal liabilities. I don't think Mr. Ronnie Tong's example is appropriate. Now, the replication of the information may be an infringement of copyright, and it would be different from what the Electoral Commission is going to be doing. If members are aware that the Secretariat will be disseminating the speeches to the social media, and the social media may not be protected by the PNP, and therefore the protection under the PNP will be undermined. And the PNP may not be as effective as it should be. Ms. Emily Lau. Chairman, I think that we have to proceed with it. Some members may not have looked at it in sufficient detail. The legal advisor said, in answer to our questions, that he didn't have sufficient time to make preparation. Now, is it the case that if you allowed more time, you would be conducting more research and make available more information? If that's the case, we don't have to do it on Wednesday. Now, some members may be voting against this proposal. Will the legal advisor make available further information? Legal advisor. When I talked about the time, Mr. Leung asked us whether we have any information on other jurisdictions. Obviously, if I had more time, I would have done more research. But as of now, the relevant cases that we identified were those that I mentioned. It's entirely up to members to judge. I'm sure that the SG would agree that the Secretariat has provided all the support that we have. Mr. Ronnie Tong. Chairman, if you are defamatory in your remarks, any reproduction would be also be defamatory. In my legal career over the past couple of decades, I've dealt with a lot of defamation cases. Now, if the speech is not really unlawful, then I don't think reproduction would make it unlawful. Members should be able to speak without fear of favor. Now, if after the reproduction it renders us unlawful, then I think it would defeat the purpose of disseminating the information. We may not have any previous cases. Now, members are protected here in the Council in what they said, and I don't think there would be any legal liabilities if they are disseminated to the social media websites. Mr. James Stowe has pressed the button, but I have already drawn a line there. I don't think there is any strong objection to this being held next Wednesday, so we'll proceed accordingly. All right, this will be put forward next Wednesday. All right, next motion on promoting the economic development of Lok Ma Chau and Lantau to be moved by Mr. Wong Ting Kwong, and also the motion on assisting young people in the development on all fronts to be moved by Dr. Honorable N. Cheung. Business for Council meeting on January the 15th, and the Chief Executive will deliver his policy address. A list containing 4 items of subsidiary legislation has been tabled. Please, if you wish to speak, let the Secretariat know about this before January the 7th. There will be a CE Q&A session on January the 16th between 10:30 and noon. Report of Bills Committee and Subcommittees. A report of the Subcommittee on Antiquities and Monuments Declaration of Historical Buildings, Notice 2013. Ms. Chen Yunhan. Chairman, the notice is to declare the cenotaph and the Bethany as historical buildings. The subcommittee supported that these two be declared as historical buildings. But the government should do more to conserve the places surrounding the historical buildings, like the Pofolam village and the old dairy farm. The government should pay particular attention to the impact of developments in the neighboring area on these monuments. There will be no amendments. All the details are set out in the report. Chairman, if I may state my position. Well, it's not for you to state your personal position. This is a report of the subcommittee. You might wish to speak at the electrical council meeting on this. All right, for amendments, the deadline to do so is January the 15th. And the deadline for giving notice is January the 8th. Position of bills, committees and subcommittees. As of the 2nd of January, there are 7 bills committees, 7 subcommittees under the House, 4 SC on subsidiary legislation, and 7 subcommittees on policies under panels, and there are 4 that are on the waiting list. Proposal of Mr. Sin Chung Kai to ask urgent oral question under Rule 24.4 of the ROP regarding the counterfeit bank note. Mr. Sin, 2 minutes. Chairman, we have seen quite a lot of fake bank notes servicing in the community, and there are certain shops that decline to accept the $1,000 banknotes. There are alarms in the community, and people are dashing to the banks. The government hasn't issued a clear message or disseminate clear message about the recall of the banknotes. And there is an urgency there. My question is intended to ask the government about the possibility of a recall. The next retail peak will be the Golden Week or the Lunar New Year, and there is quite a bit of urgency there, and that's why I like to put this question. I'm sure that with the support of the Hong Kong MA, the government will be able to handle the situation. I hope the members will support this urgent oral question of concern to the public. All right, do you support this proposal? Mr. Yip. Chairman, thank you. Well, members of the public do have their views about the $1,000 banknotes, but if we want to put an urgent oral question, I'm wondering whether this is the way to go. Is it such an urgent matter? Now, I think there is a risk of abusing the procedures. I think you can easily put a question to take the matter up with the administration. And I don't think we can support this proposal. I think you have to do it through the normal procedure. Ms. Helena Wong. Now, if we call this abuse, I don't really know what abuse really is. I went to a movie yesterday, and there was a notice put up that said that no $1,000 banknote would be accepted. Lunar New Year is around the corner. I think we have to deal with this matter urgently. Mr. James Toh. I hope members will support this. If you haven't used $1,000 banknotes, you wouldn't know what happened. Well, I pay the management fee, $1,200, in my management office, and the number of the banknote has to be recorded, and it was checked and checked. Now I went to 7-Eleven, and it was such a long queue, and there was someone who wanted to top up his Octopus card with a $1,000, and the shopkeeper didn't want it, and he was advised to go next door to get his card topped up. This is in Admiralty, and this is the urgent issue. This has to do with every single one in the community, in the business sector and the retail sector. There may not be any alarm, but I think that the administration should give an account of what's happening at this council instead of being put in a passive position. They haven't really given us any clear statement about it. I think we have to take the matter up urgently. Well, shouldn't it be dealt with by the FA panel? And that is the quickest way to go.
Chairman, the panel can't discuss this matter before Wednesday. I'm asking the panel chairman, Ms. Dari Lee, this question.
Ms.
Ms. Dari Lee. Now, the FA panel will hold a meeting in the morning next Wednesday. Next Monday, I beg your pardon. So perhaps I can ask the administration to provide an oral reply or a written reply if possible. Mr. Ronnie Tong. Now, I don't think we should be using such a yardstick. Now, if there are people watching the live broadcast of this meeting, then they may get the impression that every time an issue is raised by the Democrats, the pro-establishment camp will vote it down. Now we're going to discuss Mr. Vincent Fang's motion, and in fact, that's also quite urgent, and that can also be discussed in the panel. Now, I want to say that, in fact, I tend to support the moving of Mr. Vincent Fang's motion. Now, we now want to forge a consensus on universal suffrage, and so I think it's important that there is mutual accommodation. And I think if words like abuse are used, then that confrontation will result. And if members feel that as an abuse of the system in raising this urgent question, then will we say that Mr. Vincent Fang is also abusing the German debate system? So I hope that the pro-establishment camp will not oppose this arrangement. Ms. Priscilla La. Now that Mr. Ronnie Tong has raised this point, I want to say that, in fact, I raised and I wanted to raise an urgent question with regard to the CFA's decision on the Kong Yun Ming case, and I was concerned about the financial implications to the SAR government. I was advised to withdraw my question, and I did. Now that was because Mr. James Tian will be asking an oral question on this matter. In fact, my concern is a bit different from that of Mr. James Tian. In fact, I want to. So, first of all, I want to share this experience with members, and then I can remember that in 2010, after the incident in the Philippines, I was the first member to put in a suggestion for a German debate, and then one or two other members also raised this issue, and the president asked me, told me that there would be a collective discussion. And then concerning the Fa Yuen Street fire, again, my proposal was turned down. Now, I think all members may have the need to raise certain issues for discussion. So perhaps we can take this opportunity to discuss what the yardsticks should be. All right, do we need to vote on this one? Do we need to put this to the vote? Mr. Paul Chairman, I wish to point out that with regard to the urgent question proposed by Mr. Sin Chung Kai, I think the urgency of the matter has to be established. But then concerning the adjournment debate that Mr. Vincent Fang has proposed, and I think Mr. Vincent Fang doesn't need really to prove that urgency. So I think Mr. Ronnie Tong hasn't really compared like with like. But I think concerning this issue of counterfeit notes, I think, yes, this, in fact, I went to the Hong Kong Products Fair, and many of the stores were unwilling to accept $1,000 notes, and people felt that was very inconvenient, and there was less business for the stores. And in fact, Ms. Dara Lee has already said that the panel will be able to discuss the matter, and that's the proper forum to discuss the matter. There will be more time to discuss the matter. So we do not want to encourage members to compete to put in urgent questions. We have established mechanisms to deal with these issues, and so I think we really have to be very careful in making a decision. Mr. Ip Kwok Him. Now, It is not that the DAB opposes the suggestion because the suggestion has come from a pan-democrat. Now, I want to say that we already have oral questions. And so I think the mechanism should be used properly. And then Mr. Sin Chung Kai wants to know when all the 1,000 bank notes will be withdrawn and replaced. And then about withdrawing such notes from ATM machines. Now, my understanding is that it's against the law to refuse to accept $1,000 notes. So I think we must get the focus right. Mr. Sin, I'll give you 1 minute to reply. Now, in fact, my question contains a timetable. I am talking about withdrawal before the Chinese New Year. If I can't ask the question next week, then we'll have the policy address on the 15th. And if I can only ask my question on the 22nd, then that would be very near to the Chinese New Year period. So I think there is a sense, an element of urgency here. I think we should put this to the vote. All right, let's ask members to come back to vote. Want to remind members that we also need to deal with Mr. Vincent Fang's motion, and I just want to remind members that there will be a PWSC meeting at 3:30. Chairman, so is it that we'll need to vote on Mr. Vincent Fang's motion because there are members who are against that motion? Is it that we'll have to come back after the PWSC meeting to debate Mr. Vincent Fang's motion? Because I've heard members who say that they are against the moving of this motion. Voting begins. Right. Before voting is closed, can members please check their votes? Right, voting is closed. The results are displayed now. Members present 52, 34 yes, 15 noes, 2 abstentions. Right. The next item on the agenda, proposal of Mr. Vincent Fang to move a motion for adjournment under Rule 16(4) of the ROP at the Council meeting of the 8th of January for the purpose of debating the following issue: the impact of the CFA's ruling that applicants for CSSA do not have to meet the 7-year residence requirement. 2 minutes, Mr. Vincent Fang. Thank you, Chairman. I hope that on this issue we should not be we're not talking about the difference between the pro-establishment camp and the Pan-Democrats. And for the Liberal Party, doesn't really like to move adjournment debates. We don't want to be seen to be jumping the queue. But then why is it that I'm suggesting that we should next Wednesday discuss the impact of the CFA's ruling that applicants for CSSA do not have to meet the 7-year residency requirement? I think the impact is going to be great. Since the ruling on the 17th of December until Christmas, there were a few hundred new applications for CSSA. The S4J said after the CFA had handed down its ruling that he would not seek a reinterpretation by the standing committee of the NPC. So in other words, this decision cannot be changed. And the Secretary for Labour and Welfare has said that the ruling applies to CSSA and not other welfare benefits. But I don't think that's going to be the case. In fact, there will be profound implications with regard to our welfare policies, the pace of our public housing construction, and also the workload of our hospitals, of our schools. And I think we are facing great uncertainties. The Financial Secretary did say that he would have to increase the provision for social welfare benefits in his new budget. And so I really hope that next Wednesday we'll have an opportunity to discuss the financial implications as well as the other implications of this ruling. As you know, there is a great difference in the culture in the two places, and I don't want to see increased confrontation between the two places.
Ms. Cordiamo, some said that this is not an urgent matter, but I go along with Mr. Vincent Fang in saying that it is exceedingly urgent. We talked about the integration between Hong Kong and the mainland, and it is human right to have a family reunion. Nobody can object to that. But if we have 150 coming in every single day, we have to emphasize one country, two systems. Why is it that under the two systems we don't have any say over who gets to come to Hong Kong? The government cannot evade the issue anymore. It has to be accountable. The one-way permit or involves a family reunion. There are also fake marriages. There are also irregularities. Are you trying to bring in the pro-communist members here? Any objection? No objection. We all agree that on the 8th of January, Mr. Wong Kwok Kin. Chairman, on behalf of the FTU, I object to this proposal. The CFA has handed down the ruling, which cannot be changed. We don't object to having discussion, but I don't see the point of jumping the queue because the CFA has handed down the final verdict. I think it's a good idea for us to queue up for a slot. Everybody is claiming that their motions are urgent, and then that's not really right and proper. Ms. Emily Lau proposes a division. The bill will go for 5 minutes. Mr. Vincent Fang seeks dispensation from the President to move the motion under adjournment debate.
現在開始表決。
Voting now begins.
喺我宣佈停。
Before I bring this to a close, will you please check your votes? If there are no questions, voting now ends. Secretary, please display the results. 53 present, 45 for, 5 against, 2 abstentions. The motion is carried. Under Section 16(6) and 7 of the ROP, of the House Rule, and under 18 of ROP, the time limit is 1.5 hours under ROP 16(4), unless it is extended by the President, and members will be given 5 minutes to speak. I've got no other AOP item. Meeting adjourned. Thank you all very much.